Hey everybody, MGB back with you. We're going to talk about week 7 in just a second, but I want to talk about week 6 and what happened week 6. My wins, losses, you know the deal by now. Okay, week 6 was crazy. First I want to talk about, I said to sit all of Washington's backfield. It was a mega win for me. But I want to talk about this for a second. Everybody was jumping on the Ryan Terrain bandwagon except one guy. You're looking at him. I was at a couple other places. Everyone was like, "Oh, you have to add Ryan Terrain. He's the feature back now." I was like, "No, he's not. He's not a must-add anywhere. In fact, there was another group of guys that do some fantasy advice on YouTube here, and they put him obviously on their must-add list. And they're good. They're good guys. They know what they're talking about. But I think, like everybody else, they just got on this Terrain bandwagon that's not going anywhere. My exact quote was, "Terrain is not," or paraphrased, "is not a must-add because he's a Shanahan back." And honestly, I'm still standing behind that Tim Hightower is the best back on that team. And I mean, they win usually when he's in. Last couple of games he hasn't been playing or hasn't been given the touches, and they lose. Just saying. But I said he's not a must-add because although you never know who's going to get the ball in Washington, and so good luck. He's going to have first of all, he's going to have a couple of good games. So is Hightower, all this stuff. But good luck guessing which back is going to have a good game and which one's going to lay an egg. And I said sit Terrain. I wasn't on his bandwagon. I said don't add Terrain. He's not going to be awesome for you. He had 22 yards on 10 carries. Just saying. In fact, I said you're going to get a lot of games between 2 and 5 points out of that running back slot if you put Terrain in it. And he got you 2 points. So I'm hoping you didn't go and add Terrain because everybody was on the bandwagon. Listen to me next time. So anyway, so mega win. I'm going to give myself that. Here's what I told you to start. I told you to start Andy Dalton because, again, bye weeks, you needed filler. I said Andy Dalton. Go pick him up, first of all, and play him. 264 yards, a touchdown, no turnovers of any kind. That's a win. I said to start Mike Sims-Walker. Here's the problem. I didn't realize that they were not going to play the guy. Some sort of crazy disciplinary action or something. Then they ended up releasing him because they got Brandon Lloyd. So that's just a wash. We throw that out because like last minute scratches for no apparent reason is bullshit. So anyway, I said to start Daniel Thomas against the Jets. I'm going to give myself a draw on this one because depending on your league, he still got you 6-8 points, something like that, which isn't a total flop in a running back 3, maybe running back 2, but it's a draw where it's like, because they had to abandon the run pretty much and go to pass because they were getting destroyed against the Jets. Okay, so I talked about the running backs in Ryan Terrain already. I told you to sit Javid Best. I'm going to give myself a loss on this. But here's what sucks is because what I said was he's not going to do well rushing, and he didn't. I said, but he could do very well in the passing game, and he did pretty well in the passing game. He got you anywhere from 12 to 16 points, depending on how your league scores, out of your running back 2 or 3 position, which is really quite good. So I'm giving myself a loss on it, even though I kind of called, that he would do poorly in the running game, but he might do well in the passing game, and that's exactly how it turned out. But I'm going to give myself a loss because he got decent points for you. I didn't give you too much. I had said Josh Morgan. I didn't realize he'd hurt himself so badly that he was going to be on IR for the rest of the season. But for pickup. So now I'm talking about guys I told you to pick up off the waiver wire for replacements for bye weeks. It's too bad because the last couple of weeks he'd done really good, and I had been telling you to pick up Josh Morgan. Well, he's hurt. Jason Campbell also got hurt. However, I had told you to pick up Nate Burleson. I hope you did, to get you a replacement for the bye week. 4 catches, only 34 yards, but he got in the end zone. So in a PPR league, he's scoring you 13, 14 points out of your number 3 or number 2 wide receiver slot. That's a win, yo. Okay, so let's see. Going into this week, my win-loss record was 20 wins, 10 losses, and 6 draws, which is really good because I'm not telling you, again, like you all know, I'm not telling you all the obvious shit. You know what I mean? If you have LaShawn McCoy, you start the guy. I'm not telling you he's my pick of the week. Well, no shit. These are the things we as fantasy players need help with, man. Flex positions, number 2 guys. I mean, if you have Calvin Johnson, of course he's your number 1. If you need to ask me, do I start Calvin Johnson or do I start, Julio Jones? Well, maybe you should be playing fantasy football. You always start the studs. So I was 20, 10, and 6. Let's see. I had myself 1, 2, 3, 4 wins, 1 loss, and a draw. So at this point, this nice green pen right here, I'm going to give myself a 24, 11, and 7, which is amazing. Well, I think so. It's pretty decent anyway. All right, so this week 7, some things to do. Hold on, I'm telling my daughter to be quiet for a second. Will you leave for just a second, baby? Finishing my my fantasy football thing here for a second. Okay. This coming week, here's who you're starting, I think. And some of these are pickups as well. So, go pick up Tim Tebow. I know everyone's saying that, and you really should, man. They're playing Miami. Tebow should have a really good first effort. First starting effort, anyway. I wouldn't be surprised, obviously, rush for a touchdown, probably throw for 1, maybe even 2, depending. I know Eddie Royal's probably going to be back, maybe Demaryius Thomas, maybe. However, I think the Broncos are going to have a good bit of offense led by Tebow. And he'll probably turn it over once or twice, but they're going to make up for it in everything else, rushing yards, passing yards. Pick him up and start him if you need help at the quarterback position. I'm going to give you a bunch this week because, man, I really want to... there's a lot going on this week, and I really think we all need a little help. A couple of running backs. I think you need to start Jackie Battle. Pick him up and start him against Oakland, who comes in giving up a ton on the ground. You know what? Obviously, you probably already own him. Someone does. Marshawn Lynch. Start the beast mode versus Cleveland this week. And I usually tell you to stay away from Washington's running back this week. If you have Terrain or Hightower, provided Hightower plays, he says he's 100%. And personally, I'm a believer in him. He's got to get the touches. Figure out who's the starter. But Terrain or Hightower, if Hightower plays, I think is going to be good this week. They're playing Seattle, who's worst against the run. Or not worse, but pretty close. So you need to start him. You need to pick up and start Nate Burleson. I told you last week, pick him up. Got in the end zone, a few catches. Start him against Atlanta. Start Brandon Marshall. A lot of people haven't been because he's inconsistent. Start him against Denver. I actually think you're going to be starting Denver's defense too against Miami because they're going to create a lot of turnovers this week, I firmly believe. But Brandon Marshall will be that one really bright spot because, first of all, he'll want to come in and do well against Denver. And he will be that one bright spot on Miami. So he's the only guy in Miami I think you're starting is Brandon Marshall. But I think you are starting Denver defense as well. Who's really good versus the run, not so good versus the pass, hence starting Brandon Marshall. But they'll get turnovers. All right, here's who you're sitting. You're sitting Matt Schaub. Bad matchup this week, man. I think you're sitting him. Plus, he's just not been feeling good. So another one, start or sit Maurice Jones-Drew if you can. Like, I know bye weeks maybe you can't. You got to have him in there, but playing in Baltimore, man, it's sick. Not a great matchup. Oakland, for wide receiver, almost all the Oakland wide receivers, I think this week you're sitting against Kansas City only because the quarterback situation with Jason Campbell out, and Carson Palmer, who's now been traded to Oakland, isn't gonna, I don't think, gonna be ready. So after the bye week, I think you'll see Palmer. And sit Washington's defense versus Carolina only because I think they're going to give up a ton of points. They're a good defense, but I think you're going to get hardly anything. I'd even say sit Jets defense against San Diego this week. I think San Diego's they're a post-bye week team. You see it every year. They come out and they destroy people after the bye week, and they go on these mega runs. I think the Jets are next in line. Some pickups. The way Peyton Hillis has been. I think you need to pick up Ontario Hardesty. He's owned in like 18% of leagues against Seattle, who isn't that good. I think you need to pick up James Jones, wide receiver for the Packers, owned in only about 40% of leagues. They're playing Minnesota this week. Muhammad Massaquoi is only owned in like 5% of leagues, and for a bye week replacement, pick him up. Here's the guy to watch. Is Tim Hightower, if he's going to start, if he's going to play against the Carolina defense, the worst against the run in the National Football League. Start Hightower if he's going to be healthy. I think even if Terrace gets the start, I think Hightower will quickly take over. He'll get in there on third downs. He'll pick up the blitz. He'll get out in the flat and make some catches, and they'll realize, oh yeah, the reason we picked up Tim Hightower because we win with him. Anyway, so it's who to watch. Hey, got anything to say? Lay it on. Why here? You see I reply back. So until this week, this is MGB with the best advice you're gonna get. It's my dog, by the way. Wait.